Yes, I request all the participants to keep muted so that we can begin with the today's live session. So let us begin. Good morning, everyone. This is Gopal.
Yeah, hello. Okay. Sure, sure. No, there is. So, dear friends, today we are going to have this program, but I think it's going to take about 5 minute delay, approximately 5-10 minutes delay. Mr. Gopal has some technical problem, so he's trying to rejoin. So let's wait. Uh, to all the friends who are the Zoom and also who are watching this program through YouTube live, please stay back. We will start in another 5 minutes. Just uh, um, do please wait. Hold on. Yeah, so we'll start in 5 minutes. So all the friends who have joined through YouTube, who are watching this program live, as I was informing you, Mr. Gopal, the organizer's system, as is facing a technical issue. So he had requested to convey to you that please wait. In another 2-3 minutes, we will start the program. Okay. Thank you. So requesting all friends who have joined Zoom and also watching this program through YouTube Live, do please hold on. In few minutes, we'll start the program. So we'll start. Ah, ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Please, please. You have to unmute, Mr. Gopal. You have to unmute, and then you can start. Can you hear me?
So extremely sorry for the technical error that I had. I don't know what happened. Suddenly my system got in update mode. Uh, so let us begin. Sorry for the delay and all the viewers and all the participants who are there in Zoom meeting. I welcome you all for this interesting talk. So with this, I want to start the session. Okay. So a very good morning, one and all who are present here. This is Gopal, and I welcome you all to an interesting talk, which is the second live session of my channel. And today I'm really excited and really honored to have the famous scientist and a science writer, Professor T.V. Venkateshwaran, uh, who will be giving a talk on importance of science learning and its opportunities. So before we start, I want you all to know a bit more about Professor T.V. Venkateshwaran. Uh, he is a science communicator, science writer, and the founder chief editor of Science India Science Wire, and is a senior scientist at Vigyan Prasad, a National Institute for Science Communication, which is one of the prestigious institute of the country. And to tell more about Professor and his research area, uh, it includes the circulation of modern science in pre-modern Tamil region and the evolution of calendars and history of astronomy and sciences. So colonialism and modernity in India and evolution of science content in school textbooks, history of science communication in Indian cultures, cosmos, meditation between science and society and media. And he has written numerous of books which motivates young kids, young learners from schools and colleges. Uh, so I welcome you, sir. This is a great honor for me and my uh, students and my uh, people who are connected to me that you are here today. It's really like a great honor for me and all of us. So thank you, Professor. Over to you, and please uh, uh, accept our sincere appreciation and warm welcome. So I'm extremely sorry for the delay because something went very wrong this day. So I ask forgiveness for this. So please, you go ahead with the talk. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gopal, and all the friends. Let me share my presentation and let me make a talk. So what I was thinking was that about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I'll speak. I'll say a few things to you, and then perhaps we can get into some discussion. Okay, so let me start with my presentation. I hope uh, yeah, I hope this is visible. Yeah. So let's take a very simple question like what is the shape of Earth? I think people please mute yourself. All of you, Mr. Gopal, including you, please mute yourself. Yeah. Uh, so let's look at what is the shape of Earth. I mean, it appears a very simple question, right? So I asked this question in a school near Madurai about 10 years ago. That's when this whole talk kind of emerged. Well, when I asked the question, I mean, immediately there was a chorus of answer that it's round. So I asked back, when you say round, do you mean like a coin or a plate? Of course, the students immediately said, no, no, no. We mean round like a ball. Okay. One can quibble about whether round is a correct word for a ball. No, ball is a sphere, but whereas a circle is a round, right? Um, well, I'm not here talking about words that we are using. So they had a sense what it meant, right? So that's good thing. But then I asked the question, how do you know that the earth is shaped like a ball? Well, there were only two answers. One, some set of students told that, oh, our teacher told us. Another set of students told that, oh, it's in our textbook. There was one very bright girl who stood up and said that, sir, the photograph from the spacecraft show that Earth is spherical. Very good point. But let's now discount the spacecraft because as humans, we knew that Earth is shaped like a ball for about last 1,500 years. That time there was no spacecraft. I mean, space travel is only about 80 years old. No, rockets are only about 80 years old. So there was no spacecraft in those days. So there was no way, I mean, you could have seen the shape of Earth from outside Earth, right? So how did they come to know? Well, I mean, if you're a very rich person, I mean, you can take a space tourism and obviously you can look at the shape of Earth. Okay. So, but the important question is, how did the teacher know that Earth is shaped like a ball? I mean, you can say that teacher's teacher taught her. Then if you keep on going like that, I mean, teacher's teacher, 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 teacher. I mean, that's not an answer, right? How did they know? Okay, you are saying that I knew by teacher, but how did they know? Right? So that's a question which is not answered by this answer. Well, if you say that it's in the book, but somebody wrote the book, right? So how did that person who wrote the book knew? Right? So this is not answer. So we can clearly see that it's not answer. Now let me look at one book. For example, Vishnu Puran or Matsya Puran. I mean, you might have heard the names of Vishnu Puran and Matsya Puran. In both this Puran, there is a Puranic cosmography. What do you mean by Puranic cosmography? In that time, what kind of imagination they had? They thought that Earth is shaped like this, the universe is like this, the sun is here, moon is here. You know, when they had a view of cosmos. So what is that? So they thought that Earth is like a round plate, not like a ball. Okay, a thali plate. Okay, imagine a thali plate filled with water, and inside it, let's say there is a lotus. Okay, with its petal open, and in the middle is a lotus seed pod. So lotus seed pod looks like a inverted pyramid, right? It's look like pyramid. The pyramids are like this, but lotus seed pod is like this. Bottom is small. As you go up, the size becomes bigger, right? So what they thought was that this is the world. The lotus petals are the landmass. So the landmass is surrounded by ocean. They thought that there was some kind of oceans. Okay, that's a different issue. Okay, so let's not get into that detail. But yeah, so the petals are landmass. In the center of this circular earth, a plain circular earth, not a spherical ball. Okay, the plain circular earth, there is this Mount Meru, Meru Parvat. Some of us would have heard about this name, right? This was the picture of Bhugol in the cosmic, in the Puranic cosmology. Now, they said that this is a Meru that was used for the churning, Meru Manthar. We would have heard about it. So the Meru is at the center. The different petals are the different parts of the world. One of the petal is Bharata, which we call today as India, and plus the neighboring countries. You know, all these regions were called as Bharata at those days, right? Yeah. So they said the sun is going around the Mount Meru. So imagine there is a huge mountain, the sun is on the other side, your side will be dark. That's how the night happens. So when the sun goes around and comes to your side will become bright, so it will be daytime. The other side of the mountain will become dark. That was the idea of a day and night in the Puranic cosmos. Earth is not rotating around itself. It's not going around the sun. But Earth is so big, and in the center there is a huge mountain. Okay, a mountain unimaginable height. Okay, and the sun is going around that mountain. You remember in Mahabharata the story that they climb the mountain to reach Swarg. Basically, the top of the Mount Meru is supposed to be the Swarg. Okay, so this was the idea of world that existed in those times. In the Puran, that's what is written. Okay, so if you look at, we have two textbooks, or two texts, or two books. One is Matsya Puran, where the earth is flat, round, circular, not spherical, round. In the center, there is Mount Meru, and the sun is going around the mountain. Then you have your science textbook where you read that earth is spherical, which is rotating on its own axis, sun is stationary, and because earth is rotating, the day and night is taking. Which one is true? There are two books. So if you say that it's in a book, which book is correct? Right? So either my teacher told or the book it's written in the book does not make something true or false. That's not an answer. Okay. So let's look at this bit more. One of the earliest person in India, not the world, okay, earliest person in India to find the shape of Earth was Aryabhat. Okay, so Aryabhat had this question, how do I find the shape of Earth? But you are standing on Earth. See, if you want to find the shape of a tree opposite to you, you can go around the tree and then you can find the shape. You are outside the tree. But if you are sitting on a tree in one point, how can you know about the whole shape of the tree? You can't. You can only see you are around, right? The whole shape. So it is a big challenge. If you have a spacecraft, you can take a spacecraft, go above, and then go outside Earth, go into space, and from there take a look at the Earth. But that was not possible for Aryabhat. There was no spacecraft, right? So what did Aryabhat do? Aryabhat thought that I should find a yukti, some kind of a method by which I can find the shape of it. We all have played this. I mean, you know that objects produce shadows when light falls on it, right? So the shadow, in a way, indicates what is the shape of that object. Okay, it gives you a certain clues about what should be the shape, right? So what Aryabhat decided was that suppose if I can see the shape of the shadow of Earth. For seeing shadow of Earth, you don't need to be outside Earth, right? Even if you are sitting in a branch of a tree, you can see the shadow of the tree falling on the ground, right? From the shadow falling on the ground, you can know what should be the shape of the, right? So you don't need to go out of the tree. So that was the trick. Okay, so that was the yukti that Aryabhat thought of. So when you want to have a shadow, you need three things. You need a source of light, the object which will produce the shadow, and the shadow should fall on some screen. Some screen. It can be the ground. Okay, it has to be some screen on which the shadow should fall. If the shadow does not fall, you won't be able to see it, right? So if you look at so Aryabhat thought, if I observe lunar eclipse occurs because of Earth's shadow falling on the moon, right? So if I look at lunar eclipse, then I will be able to see the shape of Earth's shadow. Yeah, so that was the trick he came. So you have the source of light, sun, object that is Earth, and the screen is moon. So when the Earth shadow falls on moon, you will be able to see the shape of Earth shadow. So here you can see a lunar eclipse in progress, meaning that it is not at the time of complete eclipse, but in between when it has just commenced and the eclipse is progressing. Can you see here the light portion and the dark portion? and then can you see the edge? What is this shape? What is this shape? Imagine, think about it. Is the shape not an arc of a circle? It's an arc of a circle, right? Yeah. So something that you can see in a lunar eclipse is that the shadow of Earth is an arc of a circle. It's arc of a circle when the eclipse is beginning, when the eclipse is progressing, when the eclipse is covering even larger part of the moon, even larger part of the moon, and when it is completely covered. So which means first thing that you can observe if you carefully watch a lunar eclipse is all through the eclipse, the earth shadow is the arc of a circle. So you can see here, right? It's an arc of a circle. It's an arc of a circle, right? So first observation that you find is it's an arc of a circle. That's what Aryabhat did. Aryabhat found that it's always arc of a circle. Second, he also found one more thing. If it is an arc of a circle, I can compute what should be the full circle. Ratio proportions. You can use that, and then you can conclude it's a circle with a certain diameter and so on. So diameter, when you want to measure in the sky, you usually measure it in the size of the moon. How much bigger is the shadow compared to moon? So what Aryabhat found is the shadow of Earth at the distance of moon, shadow will be bigger if it is near. Shadow will also become smaller and smaller as you go further, right? If the object on the screen, the length is larger, the shadow will be smaller. If the length is shorter, the shadow will be bigger, right? So at the distance of moon, the Earth shadow was 2.5 times the width of moon. Here, Aryabhat asked one important question. We saw that there is a progression, right? So when the eclipse is beginning, what is the size of the shadow? When the eclipse is progressing, what is the size of the shadow? When it is progressing further, what is the shape of what is the size of the shadow? Shape we have found it's circle. What about the size? Is there a variation in size? So Aryabhat found there is no variation. All times throughout the eclipse, the size of Earth shadow is 2.5 times the width of the moon. So it's stable. Now you can imagine what all could create a circular shadow. Can a shoebox or a cuboid, can it create a circular shadow? No. Can a pyramid create a circular shadow? No. Can a square create a circular shadow? No. Can a rectangle or triangle create a circular shadow? No. So which means there are multiple geometric shapes which cannot create circular shadow. So which means Earth cannot be in those shapes. You still don't know what is the shape of Earth, but you know that Earth cannot be in those shapes because Earth is creating a circular shape, right? So that's the way science progress. This is called as limiting. So there are lots of choices. Before you started this experiment, Earth could have been in any shape. It could have been like a box. It could have been like a pyramid. It could have been like a cuboid. No, it can be. It could have been anything, right? Now you know that whatever is the shape of the Earth, Earth should produce circular shadow. So what are all the shapes that can produce circular shadow? There is a limitation. A cylinder can produce a circular shadow. A sphere can produce a circular shadow. A cone can produce a circular shadow. Even a coin can produce a circular shadow. So which means if Earth was a flat, round surface, it can produce circular shadow. Remember that. Okay. So maybe even Puranic cosmology could be right at this stage of your experiment. It could be even right. We don't know. Because if Earth was like a thali plate, like a coin, round, it can produce a circular shadow. We know it, right? Can be any of this. So what you have done is you have done an observation. Okay. Earth shadow is circular and same size. Then you make an inference. If that is the observation, there are only certain possible shapes which can produce circular shadow. You come to a inference. Now, what is the time in which the lunar eclipse occurs? Let's assume the camera in which you are seeing my face. Okay, so let's come to my face. So can you see my face? Yeah, I think you can see my face. Yeah. Suppose the camera is the sun and my head is the earth. Okay. And my nose is where you are. Okay. You are all sitting on my nose. So my nose is now pointing towards the sun. So the sun is on top of my nose, right? So which means it is 12 noon in my this earth. And suppose if my mobile phone is the moon, if the moon is here, earth shadow will fall on the moon, you will have a lunar eclipse. So, but this lunar eclipse is occurring when it is 12 noon at your location. Suppose if this location was like this, sun is here, your location is here, so which means it is not 12 noon, it is evening 6 o'clock, and the moon is here, earth shadow will fall on the moon, you will have a lunar eclipse, but now the eclipse is occurring at 6 o'clock in the evening. We know that lunar eclipse can occur at a different point in time, right? It can be early morning, it can be late night, it can be midday. No, it can occur at various times. You look at lunar eclipse timing, you will find out. Just give me a second. So, what does it mean? Earth, when it turns in different direction, whatever direction it turns, it is producing circular shadow. Key point. Now, let's look at my slide. Let me go here. Yeah. So, what is the observation? Whichever direction you turn the earth, meaning that wherever, whatever be the angle of your source of light, the earth is producing circular shadow. But if your object is a cylinder, only in one orientation it will produce circular shadow. In another orientation, it will produce a square or a rectangle. So, earth cannot be a cylinder. By same logic, earth cannot be a cone. Earth cannot be a circle, because circle will produce circular earth will produce a circular shadow only in one orientation. You turn it, the shadow shape will change, right? Only object which can produce circular shadow, whatever be the orientation, is here. That's how Aryabhat came to the conclusion that earth should be spherical. So he came to the inference that earth should be spherical by observing shadow of earth falling on moon, and then inferring, and then looking at multiple lunar eclipse, and then finding out that whatever be the onset of lunar eclipse, it's always circular. Every place, not only in your place, but anywhere in the world, it's always circular. Of course, you would have not been able to travel to all over the world, but different parts of India. Okay. And travelers coming from other parts, merchants who come from other parts, they also tell that it's also circular there, all those kinds of stuff. From all this information, Aryabhat came to the conclusion that earth should be spherical. Very interesting, right? Aristotle also came to the conclusion that earth is spherical, but by a completely different means. So what he did was that he stood on the edge of a sea, and then he was observing a ship going away. So when the ship was at a distance, he was able to see the sail, he was able to see the flag, he was able to see the hall. That is a place where people stay and you put goods and all that, right? So he was able to see the bottom of the ship. But when the ship went to a particular distance, he was able to see only the sail. He was not able to see the bottom at all. And when the ship went beyond a particular distance, he was able to see only the flagpole. And when it went even further, the ship completely became invisible. I'm not talking about ship becoming invisible because it became smaller and smaller. when things go farther away, it becomes smaller and smaller. No, I'm talking about if you use a telescope, still you won't be able to see it because in the curvature of Earth, it would have gone beyond your line of observation. Can you see here in the bottom? That's a logic that Aristotle used. That's observation that Aristotle did. And then from that, he came to the conclusion that Earth should be spherical. So what you find is that whether you are Aryabhat or Aristotle, science converges. Wherever you are, you be in India, you be in Europe, you be wherever, science converges because it's about the nature, the reality outside us. Okay, it's not about our feeling, it's not about our opinion, no, right? So the science converges. Now let's take another question. We started with the question, what is the shape of Earth? Okay, now let me ask you another question. How do plants get their mass? You plant a small seed, it becomes a plant. The small seed is having a very little mass. A plant, a tree could be even weighing multiple tons, right? So how does it get its mass? So is it through soil? Is the plant eating the soil? Or is it through water? Is the plant eating water and then storing it or converting it, and then that's how it is getting the mass? You will be surprised to know neither. It's air, photosynthesis. It's in the photosynthesis that the plant takes carbon dioxide and then uses the carbon to make complex chain, like carbon and hydrogen and so on, to make complex chain called glucose. Okay, you might think that, oh, there is hydrogen, there is oxygen, but then the amount of carbon is so substantial that the mass gained by the plant from water is so small, but the mass gained from atmosphere is very high. Both carbon and oxygen it takes from atmosphere. Okay, CO2. So this is how a plant actually grows. But many of us don't think so, right? I mean, many of us think that a plant eats the mud. Mitti ke kaake plant grow karta hai. This is how we think, right? So it's not correct. Very false. Whatever material that it is taking from soil, very, very, very minuscule in terms of its mass. It's essential, but in terms of its mass, it's very, very minuscule. Okay. So what is the point that I'm making? I'm making that for science, you need observation and inference, pratyaksha and anumam. Aryabhat found many things, like it rotates its own axis, solar and lunar eclipses occurs because of shadow play. There is no role for faith in Aryabhat. He gives public reason. He gives a reason which you and I can test. Not only you and I. If you are an American, if you are an African, if you are a Japanese, if you are a Chinese, if you are a Russian, forget about it. If there is a planet somewhere else in the universe, okay, and there is an intelligent being over there, that intelligent being can use the same logic of Aryabhat and come to the conclusion that Earth is spherical, right? If they come to Earth and observe Earth's lunar eclipse, they will find the same thing. They will come to the same conclusion. That's public reason. But actually, how did Aryabhat find the shape of Earth? Actually, he found the shape of Earth because he dared to question the tradition. During the time of Aryabhat, everyone would have said that Earth is flat, no? Because you are reading it in Matsya Puran, you are reading it in Vishnu Puran, everybody is saying Earth is flat, there is a Meru, and people are believing it for thousands of years. But Aryabhat said that people believing for thousands of years doesn't matter. Does it have proof? Is it scientific? He asked that question, right? And because he dared to question the tradition, he was able to do this experiment. He did not accept the receipt when people would have told him that, this Purans are written by Narad Muni. How can you question Narad Muni? People would have asked him, right? But he said, I don't care. Proof is what is important. In his whole logic, there is no role for faith. There is no role for supernatural. There is no role for cultural belief. Remember that. It's observation and inference. Science, right? So that is the heart of science. Even in his book, he writes, how did I find all these important discoveries? He has done a lot of work, I told you, Earth's rotation and so on and so forth. So many things in his book, Aryabhatium. There are lots of things other than the shape of Earth. Shape of Earth is only a very small part. I just explained it because it's very easy for us to understand. He writes that I found by my own intelligence, Swati. That is, I use my intelligence. I did this kind of observation and then came to conclusion, which is logical. He did not say that I sat under a tree and the God came in my dream and then gave me this knowledge. No, he says the Smati, my own intelligence. That's what Aryabhat says in his own book. Okay. But how do we, whenever we make claims, whenever we say something is true, whenever we say this is how we should do, etc., how do we argue? There are three ways of justifying oneself. One is called pathos, smriti. That's because it's written in some book, because it is what people believe, that kind of stuff. Second is ethos, which is Shruti. That's because everyone believes it. Everyone believes that women cannot be equal to men. So what? Everyone believes doesn't mean that it should be true, because everyone believed at one point of time Earth is flat, but Earth is not flat, right? Lot of people in India in those days believe that there is something called Mount Meru at the center of it. Is there a Mount Meru at the center of it? Nothing. Earth is not flat. It's a spherical object. In a spherical object, on the surface there cannot be any center. There can be only the center to the spherical. At the center of Earth, there is only a magma. There is no mountain, right? So, I mean, even if there is mountain, you cannot call it mountain. Mountain is something that comes out of the Earth's surface, right? It's a protrusion on the Earth's surface. No, it's not a mountain. There is no mountain. There is no Mount Meru. It's a fiction. It's an imagination. But then many people believe because everyone thinks it's true, right? So that is one kind of argument. The third is what is called as logos or hetu. That's because of reason, logic. Science takes only the third. The first two, even though in our daily life we use it, that's wrong. That can lead you to wrong conclusions. Okay, and that's how Aryabhat found by sticking to hetu. He did not believe in Smriti or Sruti. He rubbished Smriti and Sruti. He looked at hetu, and that's how he found, right? So there are lots of important questions around us, right? Like, is it evolution or life was created? Is global warming true? We all believe that there is some kind of a caste difference or gender difference. It is innate, natural by birth. Is it true? Do we have proof for it? Okay. So should one go for universal vaccination? For example, COVID time, there was a lot of debates, right? So how do you judge these questions? We need evidence. We cannot go by what everybody thinks. So what was written 100 years ago, right? We need evidence. We need observations, inference, and so on, right? That's a scientific method. So this brings into the question that we need to put thinking cap. Okay, we need to put science thinking cap. So to be scientifically literate is to empower yourself, know when someone else is full of bullshit. So when you are scientifically literate, you are empowering yourself, and when somebody is making stupid claims, you will be able to immediately point out, oh yeah, this is stupid claim. So what is science education? If I ask you the question, what is the shape of Earth? If you tell me that, oh, it is sphere or geoid or something like that, that is not science education. That is one name. That's one word. How do you know that Earth is shaped like that? Do you know it? That's a key question. Okay. So science is not memorizing facts. That's what, but unfortunately, we do in school, right? So for a question number 4, go to page number 32, put a bracket from fourth line, go to eighth line, complete the bracket, memorize that, and then vomit it in exam. That's how we study science, but that's not science. Science is knowing how and why. Okay, science is knowing how and why, and it's a way of not to fool ourselves, right? So, yeah, science education needs to change. Science education should tell us why we should trust some claims. When there is a Kepler's law which says that Earth is going around the sun in elliptical orbit, why should I believe it? What are the evidence which says that Earth is going around in elliptical orbit? How did Kepler find it out? That's a kind of knowledge we should have if we know science. Otherwise, we don't know science. We have just mugged up some words and then we are repeating. Okay, so that's not science. Science is understanding how and why. Okay, how and why understanding is what is science. Our science education should improve in this particular manner. We hope that in the coming days we will have a better way of addressing science and science education. Let's hope so. And then some of us are making an attempt to see that we will be able to get such a science education. With this, I will stop. We can have some discussion for some time. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Professor Venkateshwaran, for such a wonderful insight. And
Can you
it
be a
was
bit
really
louder? I can't hear you. I think nobody will be able to hear you.
okay. So, is it okay now?
Yeah, better. Maybe you'll have to speak louder. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So thank you, Professor Venkateshwaran, for such a wonderful insight. And it was really a different way of understanding science. It was really appreciable the way you make the small things to understand all of us. And so let us take up some questions from the participants who are there, if some questions are there. And you can unmute yourself and ask your questions if there is any questions. Okay. So I think everything was really good. So they understood, I think, everything. So do we have any questions? The people who are in Zoom meeting, I'm asking them.
No, sir, everything was very clear, sir. We'll make it clear, yes.
Yes, sir. It was really a wonderful experience for us.
Okay. So, okay, let me see whether there is any questions in YouTube.
Hello,
Ankit
sir.
Sharma, yes, please.
Yes.
Good
Ankit.
morning, sir.
Morning.
Yes, as you said that we need to make a change in our way of learning science. Exactly, not learning science, but how we are giving it up to the next generation. So, sir, what are the steps that the Indian education system is taking?
Yeah, some of us are making effort that science textbook should change, science textbook should change for better. Where the emphasis would not be on memorizing lots of facts, but understanding some key concepts, and then actually having a small practice of doing an experiment. When I say experiment here, I'm not talking about a demonstration. When you mix acid and a base, you are only demonstrating. You are not actually exploring. Something, and then from that coming to certain kind of inference as a classroom, arguing about it, and then coming to a conclusion that how far you can trust your conclusion. A taste of a scientific method. We are arguing that those should be the key aspect of science education in school. You can do it from much early classes. I mean, even from primary level, there are ways in which you can do. For example, very simple question. Maybe some of you can try it at home and then explore yourself. Let me ask you a question. Suppose you take a bucket of water, okay, and then you put a pumpkin in it. Will it float or sink? What about bindi? What about tomato? What about potato? Well, let's say you take green tomato, meaning that which has not ripened, and then take tomato at different levels of ripening, and then try this experiment. Will it change or will it be same? Right? I don't have answer. Okay, even if I have answer, giving that answer is going to be of absolutely no use. Right? Okay, so even in primary level, you can do very interesting experiments like this. Okay, let's look at this. I measure the height of this figure, and then my palm, my arm, can I find some ratios? Is there a ratio? It's a simple thing that children can do, right? If you know addition and division, even a fifth standard child can easily do it. So exploring world around us, and then coming to certain kind of conclusions, inferences, reasonable, debating with each other and finding out whether how far I can trust this conclusion. These are all some skills that we can learn from young age, and some of us are trying to argue that this should be the heart of science education, not merely remembering various names or dates or some facts like that, etc.
So
Yes,
is
sir, I
there
get it.
any more questions? Okay, I think questions are over. So I have few questions, Professor. So
Yeah, hold your mic, please.
okay. So I have few questions, Professor. So like these days, last means one day before, the CBSE has announced the report for class 10 and class 12. So a lot of students are now planning to take up sciences and even other subjects like commerce and arts. So, but for the science students, it has been really like a very linear path of selection. Like they're after taking science, they're going up to whether for an engineering or for medical, like JEE and NEET exams. So I cannot see students taking any other path when they choose science. So what do you say about this? Is there any other path of making their careers regard other than engineering and medical
See,
professions?
if you come from a very well-off family, where you have some property from your grandfather or things of that kind, you can be adventurous. You can say that, oh, I don't care, I'll study whatever I want. Maybe I'll learn to do ceramics, pottery, and then, yeah, sure. But if you're coming from a lower middle class family, like most of us, okay, you want to come up in your life, you want to give a good life to your father and mother when they are old, okay, you want to have a better life compared to, so quite obviously, naturally, many people will think of certain professional education like engineering or doctor or MBA. I won't say that that's wrong. I mean, that kind of attitude come from certain elitism, and I am not subscribing to it. If some of you are interested in doing engineering or things, please go and do. There is nothing wrong. Okay, you are not doing wrong by joining a engineering college or a medical college or MBA. No, that's first thing I want to make it clear. But if you are interested in science, then there are options. That's what I want to talk about. Okay, if you are really interested in science, there are many options. Let's take, for example, mathematics. Many people are not aware about the opportunities in mathematics, emerging opportunities. Number one, all of us should understand there is a shortage of mathematics teachers. School level, college level, university level, everywhere there is a shortage of mathematics teacher because not many people actually take mathematics and do higher studies in mathematics. So if you are interested in maths, please go ahead and do. There are bright possibilities. Other than teaching, okay, other than teaching, now, for example, there is a emerging market for insurance, right? So insurance companies need mathematicians because not exactly a certain skill in mathematics, like for example, statistics. Statistics is something very much needed in what is called as actuarial professions. Okay, so insurance, even law firms, etc., require mathematicians of this kind. Then, of course, the world is becoming big data. So if you are looking at big data analyst, system analyst, if you are looking at coding, all this area are connected to mathematics. So there is a huge emerging area as part of the fourth industrial revolution, AI, all this kind of machine learning and so on and so forth. So there is very good opportunities in mathematics for higher studies. Now coming to chemistry, uh, uh, I mean, new chemistry is coming up, what is called as green chemistry, and people are also now looking at how biochemistry. So now a lot of biochemical engineering is coming up as a important area. So you need biochemistry, people with the biochemistry background. So chemistry or biology as a potential. So all these traditional sciences have potential provided that you have interest and you are willing to put that effort. Okay. So that's sum and substance that I would like to say. Look for example, the central universities. Central universities have integrated courses, which is BSc and MSc integrated courses. Look for that. There are interesting courses in ISER. Try to apply for that. I mean, if you are interested in basic sciences. So these are all are some good colleges in your nearby area. Certainly, but remember that if you want to become professional after studying basic sciences, you may have to study at least till a master's. If you want to become uh, take a job after a graduation, of course, you can do that by writing various entrance exam for bank exam and this and that, etc. That's a different issue. But if you want to become a professional, like a system analyst, etc., etc., then you will need to do at least till masters. That's something that you remember and then plan yourself.
So thank you so much for the
Hold your mic.
part. Oh, again, I'm sorry. So thank you so much for sharing these things. And one more important question that the students really want to know, that what kind of support and assistance do our government provides for the bright students who are taking seriously for the science subjects? And I mean, is there any scholarship programs that help them
See,
to study
right
further?
now, the scholarship program is available in ISER for a limited number of students called Inspire Scholarship. That's only available for limited number of students. Okay. So you may have to look at the ISER website for the current terms and conditions because it has been changing in the last few years. Okay. So whatever is the current batch, what will be the rule, you'll have to take a look at that. That's the only major source of support. There might be local, funding agency, local philanthropic agency. That I'm not sure. I mean, there are many. Okay, but with regard to a large government system, this Inspire Scholarship is what is available.
And for school students, is there any such scholarship program?
I am not aware of it. Sorry. At
No.
school level, I'm not aware of any scholarship.
Okay. So, so I think participants don't have any other questions. So do they have?
Sir, yes, sir. I have a question.
Yeah,
Sir,
please.
as you said about career options in mathematics or specifically related to science, you told us about that statistics collection job and other in biochemistry and all. But here the major question is that these are private jobs, and we often face a difficulty that they might fire us after some time, and then we might run the risk of being unemployed.
Yeah, unfortunately, if you look at the public sector employment, when I say public sector employment, it means government and public sector units like, let's say, MTNL or things like that. Okay, the jobs have been reducing in the past decade considerably, and not even about 3% of the total available jobs are from PSUs, which means government institution, research institution, everything. So all remaining 97 is in private. Unfortunately, that's a scene today. Whether we like it or not, that's a scene today. Uh, if you want to change it, that's a different kind of a question. Okay, so that's a kind of a political question. What kind of society you want? What kind of economics you want, and so on. That's beyond today's discussion. But yeah, that's a fact. All of them are in private sector, or most of them are in private sector, because there is only about 3% in India is government sector employed. When I say government sector, I meant all kinds of government. Local government, public sector units, central governments, colleges, universities. I mean, government colleges, government universities, everything put together is only about 3%.
So one final
Yes.
question that I have. Ankit, do you have any question?
Yes, sir. As sir said that we have only few government sector jobs. So, sir, what are those? Can you name those?
See, within government sector, if you're talking about for professional employment, there are professional PSUs, public sector units like ONGC or in telecom or in other areas. Okay, as long as they remain public sector, we don't know how long they will remain in public sector. That's a different question. And then you have research institution, then you have universities, then you have colleges. This is what is a broad framework if you are looking at professional employment. If you are looking at clerk, etc., of course, there are various things available, but professional employment are these kinds. These are the various sectors.
So one final thing that I would love to ask that if someone want to become a scientist like you all are doing, so, so what do they do and what should they know and what advice would you give them uh, to start learning science the way you all did?
Yeah, so I presume that most of our audience are school students or students who are just finished the school education and are going to enter into higher education.
Yes.
So I'm going to limit my suggestion to this particular age group. Okay. So if I look at this particular age group, first thing is that study widely. When I say study widely, I don't mean only your textbook, but read many books. Okay, books on science, books on poetry, books on anything that interests you. Because reading widely gives you ideas. It will enable you to think new. Remember, research is a search. The answer is not known. Okay, there is no method. For example, you are learning some shortcut method to do integration, right? But there is no method when you are going to be doing a science. There is no method that somebody has found and you are going to apply. You are going to find that, right? So if you try 10, there'll be failure in 9, right? Because when you search, how do you know? I mean, say, for example, even if you're searching for some lost key in your house, you search in one place, you don't find, right? So you should be ready for this, number one. Number two, that's why you need to read widely. So if you read widely, you will get newer and newer ideas, number one. Number two, read to understand, not just memorize and vomit. That may be needed for getting good scores, so fine, do it. But along with that, do try to understand. Do try to ask questions like, what are the evidences for it? How did they find out? No, read books of that kind. You will have a much better, I mean, in fact, your interest in science will also grow when you start reading like that. I would say that if some of you are interested in life sciences, Venki Ramakrishnan's book, Gene Mission, it's something that you all can, rather we all can read and understand. Remember that. But then that will give you kind of things that they went through. I mean, how did they do? What are all the techniques they used? Okay, it's a very fascinating book. Read books like that. That's very important.
Yes. So thanks for speaking to us, Professor Venkateshwaran. It was very nice, and all of us learned a different way of learning sciences. And thanks for all the suggestions that you made. And really, it will make a lot of difference to the students, those who are going to choose their path in sciences. And thank you so much for coming to
Thank
our
you so
channel.
much for this wonderful opportunity, and I hope I was able to have some reasonable conversation with you. With best wishes. Thank you.
And one small thing that I want to request for all the students that Professor Venkateshwaran wrote many books like based on science and a lot of articles based on sciences. So you can go through all the books and articles and uh, get the essence of science learning. And I wish you all the best for your path that you're going to choose. And we all pray for your good uh, life. Thank you. Thank you, Professor. See you
Thank
again.
you very much. I'll
Yeah,
take leave.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes. Students, now I think you can unmute yourself and even unmute your videos. You can share how was your experience being in this online lecture. Yes, others as well, if they want to share something. तो रियांशु कैसा था फिर?
हाँ सर, ठीक सही, बहुत कुछ जानने को सीखने को मिला सर।
एंड सर काफी सारे बुक्स लिखे हैं, ठीक है, तुम लोग उस बुक को देख सकते हो, ठीक है, काफी सारे बुक्स सर का लिखा हुआ है जो साइंस बेस्ड है, लाइक टेक्निकली भी है और लाइक स्टोरी वाइज भी लिखे हैं। कुछ नॉइज आ रहा है रियांशु। तो बहुत सारा ऐसा बुक्स है जो सर लिखे हैं, तो तुम लोग जाओ देखो पढ़ो, ठीक है। और देखो साइंसेस में बहुत कुछ है करने के लिए, नॉट ओनली लाइक इंजीनियरिंग एंड ऑल, बट हाँ जैसा वो बोल रहे हैं सेफ साइड भी देखना पड़ता है। अंकित का भी क्वेश्चन बहुत वैलिड था, जो कि तुम लोग को आइडिया ज्यादा होगा क्योंकि चिंता तुम लोग अपना करियर पे ज्यादा कर रहे हो कि क्या होगा नेक्स्ट, ये सिलेक्ट किया तो क्या होगा, वो सिलेक्ट किया तो क्या होगा। Okay, we'll meet again with some other lectures, and I wish you all be again in the meeting and clear your doubts and queries. So see you all again. Bye. And वैसे आज ICSE का रिजल्ट है सेकेंड हाफ में 3 बजे, देखते हैं कौन कितना अच्छा रिजल्ट करता है। Okay then, I take leave from here. See you all. Bye.
Yes.